Hello everyone, it's Ariana and I am a first-year student at the University of Chicago. I just finished my first quarter and I am currently on winter break. And during the first quarter, I got matriculated into the college, which involves getting a bunch of free food and listening to a tedious and long speech by Dean Boyer. Ate at Medici, the Obama's favorite restaurant while they were at the university. Went to a cat cafe with the people in my dorm and petted our furry but not always approachable friends. Went apple picking when it's in fact raining and depressing, and there were no more apples in the tree. But luckily, this event introduced me to my now good friend Karen. Went to Christkindl Market downtown, a Chicago holiday season tradition. Now, you might be tempted to interrupt me. You might want to ask, where's all the depressing stuff, i.e. the studying? Isn't it UChicago after all? That leads into this video, where I am going to talk about my first finals week. I know a lot of you out there are curious about how the academics are like here, so I am going to dive into all the details, including the exact exam content, the grading, as well as the timeline. At UChicago, you can take 3 or 4 classes each quarter. For me, I took 3 classes this quarter because I wanted to start off light and ease into college. My 3 classes are Philosophical Perspectives, also known as PhilPer, Math, Honors Calculus 1, and Physics, Honors Mechanics. As for finals, I have a final paper for PhilPer and an exam each for Physics and Math. Let's take a look at what's on each of the exams, starting off with PhilPer. For PhilPer, I had to write a 5 to 6 page paper on the reading we discussed in class. We had 4 prompts we can choose from, and here they are. As you can see, they really do range of wide variety of topics and different types of readings. We read mostly Plato's writing of Socrates and Aristotle in the second half of the course. But you also have some more contemporary writing in the mix, like Malcolm X and MLK, as well as drama, like Medea. I really felt like I had enough room and liberty to find the topic I'm the most comfortable with. Prompt 1 asks you to compare the Apology with Malcolm X and MLK's writing. The writings range such a vast period of time, and they all touch on the same topic, on Socrates' idea of being a gadfly to promote progress in society. It's quite valuable to examine these texts because they really allow me to think about what is kept the same throughout time, and what is the issue at core behind different historical contexts. But I didn't end up writing about this prompt because I didn't have enough opinion to put it into an essay. So up to the next prompt. And in prompt number 2, you are asked to compare Protagoras by Socrates with Medea. And that is actually quite creative as well because they touch on the same topic, but there are such different pieces of writing. Protagoras is very logical, it's a philosophical text, and Medea is a drama. And I think it's quite interesting how we use different kinds of writing to approach the same topic. I didn't end up writing this one either because I'm not very good at literary analysis, and Medea kind of requires that. Then for me, it's a matter of choosing between prompt 3 and prompt 4. The difference between prompt 3 and prompt 4 really is that prompt 4 has a lot of information, whereas prompt 3 has less information, but each step needs to be handled more carefully. So prompt 3 is a little bit more like doing a math proof where you have to go very carefully from step to step. I ended up doing prompt 3, and I really enjoyed taking a very close look at Aristotle's function argument. There are actually not that many premises in there, and I got to think about them very carefully over the 2 weeks when I wrote the paper. So I had a really good time writing that paper, and in general, I had a great time in that course because my professor was very supportive, and the writing specialist I worked with also asked me really thought-provoking questions that pushed my paper forward without really imposing any idea on me. So definitely looking forward to the second part of philosophical perspectives that I'm taking next quarter. In honors calculus, we had 2 hours to do 12 problems for the test, and each problem is worth 10 points. So in total, there are 120 points on the test. But the maximum you're allowed to have is only 100 points. So written in a very mathy way, the score you have for your final grade is like this. And as you can see, there's a built-in curve into the exam, which is always nice to have. So thank you, Professor. Before the final exam, we received a simple final that is quite similar to the final exam. Actually almost the same, except with some numbers changed. So I'm going to put some of the problems on the sample exam here so you can take a look at what problems I had to do for the exam. And because the entire class is proof-based, no surprise, the problems on the test are proofs. They're about some theorems and their application that we went over in class. And by the way, we were allowed to bring 3 pieces, that's actually a lot, of A4 paper, like printer paper, into the exam with us. And what myself and a lot of my classmates did was we just copied the solution from the sample exam onto the cheat sheet and brought it with us into our exam. So we could reference it during the exam if we're stuck on a problem. Overall, I would say this math test was quite doable. I think in the process of taking this class, especially in the beginning, I struggled a lot with the proofs. It's not familiar to me, and a lot of the proofs we went over in class were quite convoluted and long. But just thinking from hindsight, I don't think our professor actually expected us to have a very solid grasp on them, given that the problems we had on the actual final exam is much simpler than the ones we did in class. So yeah, I think the problems we went over in class were just to broaden our minds and introduce us to the magical realm of theoretical math. In honors mechanics, we had 90 minutes to do 5 problems. And content-wise, our professor promised it would be easier than the midterm. And I disagree with him. I don't think it was easier than the midterm at all. The difficulty definitely has a very wide range, as a good exam should be. But the harder problems are very theoretical and complicated. Like, for example, I was asked to calculate, deriving the escape velocity on a spherical object given the force it exerts as a function of distance. So like definitely some integral going on there. I think also like indefinite integral going on there. And also like calculating the angular momentum of an asymmetrical system. So I don't think those were easier than the midterm or easy at all. So disagree on that part. But for the easier ones, they are very, very straightforward. Straightforward to the point where I feel like there might be a trick hidden somewhere in there that I am not seeing. And I don't have my exam back yet, so I don't really know if I'm really missing something obvious that should make the problem more complicated. But luckily, grading-wise, we had 8 problems in total combined with the midterm, and we're allowed to drop the problem we have the lowest score on. So maybe I just messed up everything on one problem because my final score turned out all right for me. So I'm happy about that. And also, by the way, you're allowed to bring a piece of double-sided A4 paper as cheat sheet into the physics exam, which personally, I don't think it helped very much because it's more about your application for these problems and like your deeper understanding on the problems rather than just you need to know this piece of information. So I can kind of see the professor is trying to help us to learn the material, but as for this final exam, I don't think the cheat sheet really played a role in completing the exam. And then, as promised, we're going to talk about the timeline. And you may not be that curious about the timeline right now, like that may not be the thing you think of when I say I'm going to talk about what final exams look like at UChicago. But I'm going to explain why I am talking about it. First off, we have the Thanksgiving break. And before the Thanksgiving break, the final essay prompt as well as all the sample final exams are released. So during the break, if you want to, you can take a look at those. For me, personally, I just started working on my essay because during the week we get back from Thanksgiving, there's a writing seminar where you can polish your essay and talk to your writing specialist. So I wanted to feel prepared for that. Coming back from the Thanksgiving break, we have another week of class. This is the last week of class of the quarter. And on Tuesday of that week, I actually have a draft due for my final essay. What's special about this week is that we don't have any more labs, so I got a lot more free time to just prepare for exams. However, there are still TA office hours if you have any questions. And then we have the reading period, which is when there are no more classes and there are no assignments due. So they're just there for you to review either with your classmates or independently. I just want to add that I actually didn't know there were reading period, being a new college student. So it was definitely a pleasant surprise. Now, is it a little bit hypocritical of them to put the reading period during the weekend when there wouldn't be any assignment due or classes anyways? I don't know, but just like the concept of it is novel to me, and I found that really nice. And then finally, we have the exams, which is what this video is all about. Finally, we're getting there. My two exams are on Thursday and Friday. One is at 8 a.m., the other one is at 10 a.m. Both are pretty reasonable times, and I'm very grateful for that. My essay is due Thursday at midnight, so I definitely had some extra days to work on my exams and final. In general, exams here this quarter have some very crazy timing. The earliest one is at 7:30 a.m. and the latest one can go until 10 p.m. There are some complaints going around about that, and people are trying to change that, but as of now, it is how it is, and we kind of just have to push through it. And then, voila, Saturday, it's officially the beginning of winter break, and happy holidays, everyone. I just want to share a little bit on why I wanted to share the timeline, because time-wise, it wasn't really what I expected coming from high school. I actually had more free time to prepare for the exam than I imagined. I had the Thanksgiving break, and the reading period, and the finals week, because we don't have classes during finals week. And that's because we have a limited amount of classroom and they're being used for the exam. So time management was a very big factor in the whole preparation process here. And that just wasn't something I expected. So I just wanted to put it out there. And this process gave me a new idea of what's kind of the freedom expected for a college student and how much responsibility you should take for managing your own time now that I'm in college. Finally, if you have watched till now, I want to share some heartfelt words. Sometimes studying is some heavy lifting for the mind. When I'm stuck on a problem, when my argument doesn't work. At those times, I take my mind off of the academics and look around. I find that life offers me so much beauty. The sunsets imprinting on glass architectures, making everything from our iconic dome-shaped Mansueto Library to research centers look like strawberry-flavored marble cakes. The red leaves on the ground when I walk outside for the first time and find out it has rained on a cold autumn day. Or maybe just getting to go to the gym, knowing that I will feel refreshed afterwards. And despite the hardship, the studying is so meaningful when you get to sit on the quad on a sunny day, watching the leaves change color and read some philosophy. When you concentrate hard in the library against the backdrop of white noise from the air vent that makes everything more silent. Or watch the beams of sunlight travel through the universe, penetrate through the glass rooftop and my water bottle, finally landing on my book. Or just having the amazing lab partners and teaching assistant who make every 3-hour-long lab rock. There has been so many nights when I walk back from the brightly lit library and tell myself, it has truly been a good day.